Mic check.
Good afternoon, and we are starting with a live look at downtown Buffalo. A really nice day out there right now. If you can get outside and enjoy it, you should. Temperatures are in the 80s. Some spots I think are still lingering to those upper 70s, but even that feels really nice. There is a bit of a breeze. We can show you that in a moment, but honestly, that wind feels really nice. It's keeping that air moving because sometimes those 80s and when you're feeling that humidity maybe a little bit higher is maybe not going to be the most comfortable, but you know what? I'm inside. Patrick Hammer is outside in the elements. What's it like out there, Patrick?
Oh, it is a different vibe compared to the entirety of spring so far. It is sunny, it is warm, and it is a bit humid. All right, that is something we really have not experienced much at all this season. Temperatures in the 80s, which we're already at, but also higher levels of humidity. And we measure that by a dew point, which is what Lauren is going to be diving into coming up on our next segment. Oftentimes, you will see us mention different weather variables, temperature, wind speed, all of that stuff, relative humidity and or dew point. And many people go, why not just give me the humidity level? Because the dew point is a far better measure, and Lauren's going to be talking about that coming up. But first, we do want to highlight the gloriousness of today and tomorrow, I might add. That will be crescendoed by some thunderstorms later tomorrow, followed by a return to familiarity, and that is 50 and 60 degree weather, which will be here soon. And we've got to talk about Memorial Day as well. So let's get to it. We'll start with a look at our current conditions and, of course, our headlines, what we're really looking at. And, of course, if you haven't gone outside yet, you know it's warm and temperatures are well into the 80s. We are expecting a continuation of that again tomorrow. It'll be warm again, but there will be some late storms. Temperatures like today, which will be in the mid to upper 80s, and Lauren will be tracking that temperature this afternoon. The record is 89, and you know we're already into the 80s, so we'll see if we can get close to that record. And then looking ahead, much cooler by midweek, and we're going to see temperatures fall off dramatically. Actually, on Wednesday we're back in the 60s, and by Thursday we're back in the 50s. It will not feel at all like it does now. So a quick peek at the next 2 days today. Sunshine. I am seeing a very a staple of weather conditions in the late spring and summer, and that is some cumulus clouds that are developing over the Boston Hills and the Chautauqua Ridge, very typical. The hilly areas of the southern tier will see these cloud buildups in the afternoon heat, quite typically, and that's what we're seeing. Tonight down to 66 under mostly cloudy skies. It'll be a warm night. And then for tomorrow, we're back into the mid 80s. And there will be more cloud cover. There could be a few showers in the morning, but a better chance of some thunderstorms lurking into the I would say evening most likely, and some of those could be on the strong side. As you look ahead for rain chances in the coming week, clearly tomorrow is highlighted, and then again, unfortunately, for the weekend. And we'll dive into that forecast a little more in detail coming up. But there will be two main chances of rain over the next 7 days. The satellite view right now shows you the mainly clear skies and a little bit of a southerly breeze, which you can't really see, but it's evident, and that is bringing it takes a little bit of this, you know, if you have a hot day and it's still, it feels hot. When you have a little bit of a breeze, it takes a bit of the edge off. And if we take a wider view of the satellite and radar, you can see that there are some showers well to our west. That is the first of two fronts that are going to approach. That one first will fizzle and die off. We might see an isolated shower this evening or tonight from it north of Buffalo. But it's a front behind it that's going to trigger storms, it looks like, for later tomorrow. So let's go into future look, and you will see that we've got temperatures starting off in the 80s, and it looks like a mainly dry day today. A couple of showers are possible tonight. Really want to focus in on tomorrow, because there is a risk of some storms, and some of those could be strong, even severe, as this front comes through. And the timing is such that anytime in the afternoon there could be a storm, but the best chance of organized storms will be tomorrow evening, it appears, into tomorrow night. And with that, there will be a threat of, I would say, higher wind gusts. There could be some hail. The setup for hail is there for tomorrow, and a small risk, as we've had a couple of times this season, of a tornado. A weak tornado cannot be ruled out tomorrow evening, as a little spin up is possible. Again, it's a very low chance, but whenever there's a chance, we want to just let you know that the atmosphere is signaling that there is a chance for that. All right, high temperatures today are going to be well into the mid to even upper 80s. We have not hit 80 this season yet. We hit 79 in April, but we have not hit 80. We are there today. And the forecast then for tomorrow also keeps us in the 80s. You'll see the color contours, a little bit of green there. That's kind of some rain-cooled air that could occur. If the rain comes, your temperature will go from the 80s, quickly drop into the 70s, and then right back again into the 80s. Again, the best chance of any afternoon thunderstorm activity will be the southern tier, but all of us have a chance later tomorrow evening. And then it says Wednesday, we have a much cooler day. It looks, the map shows green. The green signifies temperatures in the 60s, and that's what we're going to see. Likely a 20 to 25 degree drop from Tuesday to Wednesday. So the prevailing weather pattern is pretty hot, not only here, but for the entire East Coast. Widespread 90s are a thing today and tomorrow. However, this is not a heat wave. This is a 2-day period of heat that will be replaced by another push of cooler air for Wednesday, Thursday, with temperatures coming back down. And then that will set the stage for some active weather to approach as we head towards the long weekend, which of course starts on Saturday, and you'll see that in the 7-day forecast. So for today, mostly sunny skies, a high of about 86, 87 degrees or so, a little bit of a southwesterly breeze. For this evening, if you're heading down to KeyBank Center, oh my gosh, what a night. What a night for the Sabres. What an opportunity to take a Game 7. And if you're going down for the watch party, or you're going, the weather's going to be just ideal. If you remember Game 1 of the playoffs against the Bruins, remember that? Remember we had that home game and it was snowing? It's hard to believe the playoffs started a month ago. This time, our playoff game will feature temperatures in the mid to upper 70s, really nice. And then for tomorrow, mostly sunny. However, there could be a shower in the morning, but a better chance later in the day and into the evening with that thunderstorm chance. Okay, here's the 7-day. And you'll see, as advertised, the cooler numbers coming at us for Wednesday, Thursday. Friday, we're back into the 60s. Lauren was talking about this extensively over the weekend, and because that's when this kind of first came within our forecast window, and that is Memorial Day weekend. And right now, it is not going to start out great. We're looking at some rain on Saturday, and it may not be it may be more of a soaker or an all-day thing. We'll have to watch. This doesn't seem to be one of those, oh, it'll be fine with just a few afternoon showers. This looks like more of a widespread rain coming in on Saturday. And then as we head towards Sunday and into Memorial Day, we are going to see the shower chance continue with temperatures in the 60s on Saturday, around 70 or so on Sunday, and Monday will probably feature temperatures in the 60s with the chance of some showers. Okay, want to show you next. This is what Lauren is going to be discussing. That is dew point. We can track high dew point air. It's shown here with that green moldy tone. That is indicative of temperatures, the dew point temperatures being elevated, and the opposite of the green is the tan. That's an indication of drier air. If you want humidity, some people like it, getting into that high dew point air is your thing. Also, if you want summertime rains or thunderstorms, you also need to see that dew point creep up there as well. But wanted just to give you a little preview. Lauren has got a wonderful discussion And maybe when you're done watching this, you'll finally understand that's what that means.
Yeah, dew
the
point.
dew point. All right, we'll have more.
Yeah, we'll be back after this with the dew point.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Patrick Hammer here in our Hamburg Bureau on a beautiful sunny Monday. It seems like Mondays have been good to us.
Yeah.
The last couple of Mondays, I recall, have been really nice, right? I mean, if we've had a one warm day on a cool week, it's come on a Monday. And Lauren, that's certainly the case today with the higher temperatures and dew points in the 60s, right? That's a sign of some muggy air.
Yes, it is. So one of the first terms that I heard, even when I was starting to get interested in meteorology, was the dew point. The meteorologist that I really liked would always keep bringing up the dew point. And at first I didn't know what it was. So basically it is the temperature to which the air would have to cool for it to become completely saturated. So when your air temperature is the same as the dew point, that's when you tend to see fog or, air tends to cool as it rises. So typically at the level that you're seeing clouds in the sky, that's when that air has cooled enough to that dew point for the air to condense and then form clouds, because clouds, even though they're in the sky, they're actually liquid. They are not water vapor because water vapor is invisible. Fun fact for parties, people are going to love you. So taking a look at the dew point right now across the country, you see it's kind of a split story. These deeper shades of green, that's where we are seeing those higher dew points, whereas out west, it's really dry. Albuquerque, New Mexico, specifically, they have a dew point of 5. That is obscene, especially when they have a temperature in the 60s. That is very, very dry air, which is not too surprising for New Mexico, but for someone who has only ever lived in the tri-state area her entire life, that sounds absolutely absurd to me. Right now in Buffalo, we have a dew point of 61. The temperature is 82. And we have a lot of 60s pretty much across the board. So kind of what do these dew points indicate for you? So typically whenever we're talking about the dew points, normally it is in the spring and summer when those dew points start to go up, because you can't really have a dew point higher than the temperature. And it's really not until we get to the 50s that we even want to start talking about that dew point, because that's how it really impacts how we feel. So when you have that dew point from 50 to 55, that's refreshing, that's incredible. If you can get that during the summer, consider yourself lucky. That is a really nice day. Then 55 to 60, that's still comfortable. That's a pretty good dew point. That's more when we're going to talk about a nice summer day. That's probably where we are going to be. Again, a little bit lower. Consider yourself lucky, but that's a really nice spot to be. Once you get to 60 and above, like that 60 to 65 range, that's when it starts to feel a little bit muggy. It might start to feel a little bit uncomfortable. It's not too bad, but you are definitely feeling it, and it is noticeable. Once you get past 65, when you're in that 65 to 70 range, it's sticky. That's when it's uncomfortable, and that's when you really don't want to be outside for too long, because it just feels oppressive. You feel like the air is on you constantly. And then once you get past 70, that's miserable, that's terrible, that is reaching tropical levels of humidity. And we do see that sometimes, but you don't like it when you do see it. It is not fun. So relative humidity is probably the term that maybe you grew up hearing, maybe you're used to hearing, maybe that's kind of just how you talk about how humid it feels with that relative humidity, kind of that percentage that we see. The way that you calculate relative humidity is you have the vapor pressure of the air currently over what the vapor pressure of the air would be if it were completely saturated, and then the units are the same, they cancel out, and then you multiply that by 100 to get that percentage. So as an example, if the temperature outside is 65, the dew point is 65, you have a relative humidity of 100%. Typically when we see those higher relative humidities, those high humidity values, they are going to be in the morning, because those temperatures are lower and more likely to be close to that dew point. That's when we normally see a lot of that morning fog. But that same exact dew point of 65, which we previously established is when it starts to get kind of sticky and uncomfortable, but with a temperature of 85, that gives you a relative humidity around 50%. However, this is the much more uncomfortable situation where you have that temperature of 85 with the dew point of 65, as opposed to, yeah, it's still a little sticky when you have 65 and 65, but once that temperature starts rising, those increases in the dew point and that humidity really start to be felt. So I created this chart right here just to kind of give you an idea. On the top, we have the temperature. On the other axis, we have what that percentage would be in relative humidity. And just to kind of pick, okay, 90 degrees, if you have 60% humidity, that feels like 100 degrees. So it scales very quickly. You can see once you start getting into those 90s, and once that relative humidity is anything above 50, it is feeling like the hundreds plus, very uncomfortable. And these are really the temperatures that you want to look at when it comes to how your body is reacting to that heat. So why is that heat index so astronomical, especially when we have those temperatures and that dew point? Why does the dew point make for such a tough situation? And a lot of that comes to sweat. We sweat, humans sweat, a lot of creatures do, and that is how we regulate our temperature. I mean, other creatures do it differently. Dogs sweat through their tongue, but we sweat through our skin. And basically that's our body creating water that will then evaporate off of us and cool us. And just to kind of give you an idea of how important that sweat is, that's one of those big distinguishing factors between if you have heat exhaustion or heat stroke. Once you stop sweating, that's when things are really bad. That means your body is not cooling itself, it is not regulating itself, and that's when things start to turn bad. So now I kind of want to get into the science of sweat and why it is so important. Okay, so sweat is about 99% water. There are some salts in it, there might be fat in it, but for the most part it is water. And for my scientific purposes, I'm gonna get a little technical with the chemistry of it. We're just going to say that sweat is water. And water is a very unique substance. It has a very high specific heat. That specific heat is 4.184 joules per grams times degrees Celsius. So basically the specific heat is also what a calorie is. So basically the amount of energy that you need to raise 1 cubic centimeter of water 1 degree Celsius. And this is a high specific heat. It is one of the highest specific heats of any liquid. And that is because of its chemical makeup. I just wanted to throw up a periodic table here because I am going to be talking a little bit about the chemistry of water. So you probably learned in your chemistry class there are ionic bonds and there are covalent bonds. Ionic bonds are the strongest bonds. Basically, when you have any elements that are more on this side of the periodic table, they tend to only have one valence electron. So they want to lose that electron so they can just keep a full electron cell. Sorry, a valence electron are the electrons on the outermost shell. Typically you want 8 in that valence electron shell. But once you get on this side, you have some elements that have those full completed shells and they don't like bonding with things. But just before that, you have elements that have typically 7 electrons out of the 8. So typically you'll see some of these elements losing electron, giving it to one of those. It creates a charge and then they're attracted to one another, creating that ionic bond. Things like salt, NaCl. That is an ionic bond, but then there's also covalent bonds. That's where they share those electrons. So no atom is losing an electron, it's just kind of sharing it with another one. And a covalent bond is what water has. But those are just the intramolecular forces. I want to talk about the intermolecular forces. So those are kind of the weaker bonds that are between individual molecules of water. So these are the covalent bonds between the hydrogen and oxygen atoms, but between different molecules of water, there are different intermolecular forces. And so it's a dipole force because when you have a covalent bond, specifically with hydrogen and any very electronegative element such as oxygen, nitrogen, or fluorine, those are the most electronegative elements, they draw electrons closer to themselves. So this oxygen kind of develops more of a negative charge, whereas those hydrogens develop a little bit of a positive charge. So with this specific type of dipole intermolecular force, it is a hydrogen bond. And it is one of the strongest intermolecular forces. So when you have that, you need a lot of energy in order to overcome those intermolecular forces for that liquid water to evaporate into a gas. So when that sweat is on your skin, it is literally removing the heat from your skin to cool you. But when the dew point is really high, it is a lot harder for that water to evaporate, so it stays on your skin. And that's what makes you feel miserable when there is a high dew point. So that's just a little look at the science and the chemistry. involved in the dew point and sweating in general.
I never knew sweat could be so fascinating from a mathematical perspective. Lauren, I tell you what, this TV thing is working out for you brilliantly, but as a professor in this field, you will shine someday. I learned more in that 6-7 minutes about dew point than I ever knew. And I went to all the schools and I learned more with you. Thank you. We'll be back in this high dew point air and the sweat too, right after this. All right, hey Lauren, before we talk a little bit about the month of May, I have a quick trivia question for you.
Oh boy.
On this date, what physical feature lost about 1,700 feet of elevation?
What physical feature lost 17?
Come on.
I don't know. I don't know. Some mountain, maybe?
Okay, on this date, yes. On this date in 1980, Mount St. Helens blew its top. It was the most incredible volcano, and the explosion and the eruption of this volcano took Mount St. Helens, so much of the mountaintop blew off, it's 1,700 feet lower than it was before the eruption. But that was,
wow.
46 years ago today.
Wow.
How about that?
Yeah, but just speaking of volcanic eruptions, something like that, it spills so much sulfur and like soot and different molecules into the atmosphere and specifically in the stratosphere. And what often happens in those instances is you can get much colder seasons. Like, I mean, there was like that year with no summer because it prevents all of that sunlight from getting to the surface and warming us. And nothing like a volcanic explosion has happened, but you maybe wouldn't know it from looking at the temperatures that we've had so far this May in the 50s and 40s for most days. We only just started seeing warmer temperatures, but thankfully those are going to continue. And even just like looking at the 8 to 14 day outlook, even with some cooler days this week, it looks like above average is where we are going to stay for the long term. So at least things have kind of turned that corner. And that is kind of a look at your Beyond the Forecast for today. We will be back later this week with more weather goodness.